Hey everybody, this is Nick Baldwin, and today I'm being joined by UFC lightweight Grant Dawson, who's coming off a big third-round knockout win over Leonardo Santos this past weekend at UFC Fight Night in Las Vegas. Grant, how are you?
Fantastic, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time, and congratulations on the big win. First of all, where do you sort of rank this finish among all your wins to date?
You got to put it at the top. He's definitely the most credentialed dude I've fought. He's the most experienced dude I've fought. And he's the most dangerous dude I've fought at a new weight class. So you got to put him at the top. He's the ranked the highest. But I'm happy with the finish, and I'm happy with everything that happened. But I definitely think that I could have gotten more out of myself. And there's a lot to improve on. So it's always nice to have stuff to improve on coming off of a win instead of having stuff to improve on coming off of a loss.
What do you feel like you didn't show necessarily? I mean, a third round finish is great. What do you think you could have done better?
Uh, I feel like I could have believed in my striking a little bit more. Watching the fight back, I think I was winning every single striking exchange, and the only time I really looked like an idiot was when I was getting desperate with my grappling. I got thrown on my butt once, and then I took a really bad shot, and he took my back, and so it's just things I'm gonna have to tighten up. It was easy to get away with those things at 145 because I'm bigger than everybody else and I was stronger than everybody else. But now that kind of evens out a little bit, and you have to go skill for skill along with your physicality. And I definitely think that it was a good thing to see that this fight. I think that I'm going to make a lot of improvements, and my next fight I'm going to look even better.
Does this win still feel a little surreal? Like, are you still 4 days later on cloud nine just because of how unique the finish was, how big it was? Just, I mean, not many people can say they have a last second knockout like you just scored. Does it still feel a bit surreal?
Yeah, it does. I don't have any knockouts on my record. That was my first knockout. I have TKOs, but it was more like they were fine. They were just so exhausted they couldn't continue. So, having an actual, oh my goodness, he doesn't remember what happened. He is unconscious finish. That's a real big confidence booster for me. And it got me the 50 G's, and it's gotten me a lot of notoriety amongst the MMA community and on social media. So I'm super happy with that, and I'm just ready to improve on that win. I'm ready to get another fight going and show that I'm not the guy that needs to find a way to finish. I can be dominant at all times. So it is what it is.
Going into the third round, how did you feel about how the fight was playing out at that point?
Personally, in the fight, I had it 1-1. I had him winning I want to say second round or I don't even remember which one I gave him, but I had it 1-1, and I knew that I was winning the third. And when he put in that leg lock and he tried to sweep me or whatever, what was going through my mind was, let's make this a 10-8 round by getting some big shots in here. And then I saw him hurt, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna get the finish. That's great. But watching it back, I definitely see why they had me up 2-0. I definitely think that I was winning the fight watching it back, and but in the fight it's hard to tell.
Yeah, no, between the second and third round, a lot of people have been sharing that video of James Krause really getting in your face and giving you a bit of a pep talk, just because he legitimately didn't know how the fight was being scored. It could have been 2-0 either way, could have been 1-1 as you thought it. As you're sitting in the corner, you're somewhat tired. It's 10 minutes through the fight. What's going through your head as James is kind of just like in your face and telling you, go out there and get a finish?
I definitely was thinking I need a finish. I definitely was thinking, because the fight before us was kind of a weird decision. Trevin Giles, I can't remember the name of the guy he fought, but and I was watching it. I was watching the fight, getting ready for my fight. I wasn't paying super close attention, but every time I looked over, I thought Giles was losing, and then he ends up getting a unanimous decision. So I definitely was worried that I might get screwed out of a decision, or I was worried that I would lose the third and he would beat me 2-1. So, definitely had some urgency in there, but I just knew he had to be more tired. I knew he had to be, slowing. I knew he had to be, draining down. And if I just pushed the pace, I could get a really good third round. And then the finish came, and it all paid off. James has the highest fight IQ out of any coach that I've worked with, out of any coach that I've seen corner, out of any coach that I've seen coach. And that's one of the things that makes him so great. So I trust him completely.
Do you, I mean, obviously you were the one that got the knockout in the last second. That wasn't something the corner did. But how much do you think his sort of pep talk really did play a part in your urgency in that third round? Because most people would say, even before the knockout, the third round was your most dominant by far.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if that had something to do with his pep talk. I think that was more to do with just the fight was wearing on Santos, and
Right.
I'm still fresh. You know, I'm a very conditioned fighter. The thing is, like, James's those talks, I get those all the time. Like, I
Yeah.
get what you guys saw in between rounds, I see almost every day. You know, James is just so good at motivating the fighters and motivating us, and making sure that we, you know, expect as much out of ourselves as he does. And one thing that he talks about, he says, I can't care more about your career than you care about your career. And that's something that really, like, sticks with me. You know, if my coach cares more about my career, I'm in the wrong profession. So I didn't need that pep talk to get me to want to finish, but it was definitely something nice to have. And it's definitely important when you have a coach that you respect as much as I respect James, getting in your ass and telling you to get going. So it helped, but I expect more out of my career than James does. So I was going to do that whether or not he was there.
Now, a lot has been made about the sort of ending sequence where Santos was kind of just going for a leg lock, wasn't really protecting himself. The guard was down, and you obviously capitalized on that. But in your mind, was that more of a you were going for that knockout no matter what it took, or was it a matter of you saw that Santos was maybe making a bit of a mistake, and then you just were able to capitalize on that?
Yeah, when he went for my leg, the red flag went off in my brain, and I had a choice to make. I could pull my leg out and go back down into his guard, or I could stay there and punch him. And I thought it was 1-1 going into the third, but you'd never know. So I made the choice to leave my leg in there. I thought, even if he blows my knee out, I won't tap, and this will go to a decision. So I'm safe here. There's short time. I'm just gonna try to get as many punches in as I can. And so it was really more of just a decision of escape and play it safe, or keep your leg in there and go for greatness. And it paid off in the end, man. High risk, high reward.
Now, if you're kind of looking back on the fight, are you surprised that Santos was very adamant about going for that leg lock with just a few seconds left? Because he is a crafty guy on the ground, but
Absolutely. I don't think he was going for a leg lock. I think he was going for more of a sweep than a
sure.
leg lock. And I think that comes from time spent in the gi. And there's nothing wrong with being in the gi, and there's nothing wrong with, you know, training in the gi. But I do believe that when you're as highly credentialed as he is, you create really, really good habits in the gi and really, really bad habits for MMA. I don't think that what he was trying to do is he was trying to get his leg through, and he was trying to sweep me or create space so that I couldn't hit him. I countered correctly, and he couldn't get a hold of my sleeves or lapel or whatever you want to call it to control me, and that's why I think it's a bad choice in MMA. If I was him, I would have just kicked away and tried to get up or cover my head, especially if I thought I was winning. I think it was a programming issue, not a decision issue. Like, I don't think he made that choice. I think his body is just so accustomed to doing that when people stand up that he had to do it with or without the gi.
Right. Now, James Krause was obviously, as we spoke about, very adamant about you going for the kill in that third round. What did he say to you after you got the knockout?
Oh man, he was happy. You know, whenever you do something like that, I think that's a record. I think I have the latest knockout finish in lightweight history for a 3-round fight. And you know, you just kind of go down in the record books, and you finally got something that really cements your name out there. I think he's just happy for me. And like he said, he didn't know how the fight was being scored, so we could have been 1 second away from losing. I mean, we didn't know at the time. We could have been 1 second away from losing. So the emotion was just great. When I win, he wins, and it was just a really awesome moment with my corner, all of my corner, and I'm never going to forget it for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Generally speaking, I think like in a fight like this, a lot more people are going to remember it because you got the finish. If it was a decision, people would, of course, remember the fight to some degree, but not as much. Do you agree? Do you buy into that? And if so, how important was that finish just in terms of, popularity and your career moving forward?
Yeah, you can't be going around talking about world titles and big fights and legends and rankings without finishes. Nobody likes somebody that just lays on people. Nobody likes somebody that, jabs people to death. And there is a place for those types of fights, and I'm definitely going to have to be in those fights at some point. But getting the finish is just so much more. You get that push through and that oomph and that that confidence building that you're a dangerous man. I'm 17-1 and I have 15 finishes. I try to finish fights. As an amateur, I was 9-1 with 9 finishes. Before that, I did backyard fights and I was 22-0 with 22 finishes. I'm always trying to finish the fight, and I understand that title shots and high rankings are out of the question if you aren't at least attempting to finish. You can't finish everybody. I understand that, but you can try to finish everybody.
Do you consider this sort of the most impressive win of your career, just based on the fact that Leo Santos was riding a huge winning streak like yourself? He was undefeated in the UFC. So keeping in mind the opponent level, but also the method with which you finished the fight.
I think that it was definitely my biggest win to date. I don't think it was my best performance, but it was my
Sure.
biggest win to date. I think that I had kind of an off night, and you can call that Santos's on night. You can call it my off night. You can call me crazy, whatever. But I know now that even when I feel like I have an off night, I'm still dangerous and I can still find a way to win. That's what champions do. They go into the cage, whether they have an off night, an on night, or an other night, and they find ways to win. And that's me. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to find ways to win. And everybody's allowed an off night. Everybody's allowed to have a bad performance. Everybody's allowed to have a close performance. Habib Nurmagomedov had a very, very close fight with Gleison Tibau, where a
Yeah.
lot of people thought that he lost the fight. He had 0 takedowns in that fight, and he got taken down a couple times himself. He ended up winning the decision that a lot of people thought he lost, and now nobody remembers that. So you're allowed to have these off nights, and you're allowed to have these skid by decisions or these last second knockouts. It's okay. I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna move on to the next one. I'm gonna have an amazing performance next fight.
Yeah. This was your first fight at lightweight. Why did you decide to move up to 155?
So I missed weight against Derek Minner, and I had a full camp, and he had 12 days. He made weight. I missed weight. So that was the first sign that I was getting too big for 150, or I'm sorry, for 145. I told my management team and I told my coaches, I said, give me one more shot at 145. If I miss weight or if I come close to missing weight, I will move up to 155. The pandemic happens. They give me a fight in Abu Dhabi at 150. And that was really, really hard to make. And I almost missed weight at 150, which was a 5-pound weight allowance. And so
Yeah.
I'm a man of my word. I almost missed weight again to save myself the embarrassment of missing weight, to save myself the ridicule of missing weight, rightfully so. I decided to move up, stop making excuses. I don't want to be the guy that had all the potential in the world, the guy that could have been so amazing, but he had that one thing. He couldn't make weight. He just couldn't put the Kit Kat bar down, and he just had to go to McDonald's. I don't want to be that guy. And at 155, I can safely say that I'm going to make weight every time.
Barely making weight for the 150-pound catch weight, was that an eye-opening experience, just because all your career you've been at 145? I mean, I don't know how easy it was in the past, but to barely make weight, 5 pounds over what you're used to, that must have been like oh well, I guess I got to go up.
Yeah, I have a video on my phone of me in the tub telling myself, my future self, we're done. No more
Yeah.
145. This is awful. You are dying. And anytime I think about going to 145, I go and I watch that video, and it reminds me I'm a 55er. Not to mention, I had a tough cut to 155. Not like 45, but I cut a good 12, 13 pounds of water to make the weight class. And then I stepped in the cage pretty darn big. And I know that I'm filling into my man body. I'm 27 years old. I'm starting to hit, I'm starting to etch the bottom of my prime, and it's only going to be more difficult. So if it wasn't this fight, it was going to be the next fight. So might as well save myself, thousands and thousands of people telling me I'm a piece of crap for missing weight again,
Yeah. How did you feel at 155 for the first time?
Energy was great. I do think I had a little bit of an off night, but I don't think that had anything to do with the weight cut. I don't think that had anything to do with the training camp. I think that you wake up some days and you don't want to go to work. You wake up some days and you just decide this is not my day. And I'm excited to get another crack at it. We're still adjusting things. I might have pushed my strength and conditioning a little bit too hard. So I need to sit down with my coaches and my nutritionist and kind of navigate my way through what a camp is going to look like a lot better this time. So I think that next fight will be even better, but I do feel good at the weight class. I still feel strong, even though I was having trouble getting him down. I still feel like he wasn't, that much stronger than me or whatever. So I'm happy I'm here.
Now, the stakes in this fight with Leo Santos were kind of interesting to me because it felt like Santos has been around for like 7 years, not as active as he would have liked, but undefeated in the promotion, and obviously a guy that has some big wins, knocked out Kevin Lee back in 2015, a guy that had some promise. And then you have you, a younger up-and-comer, a big prospect, 4-0 in the UFC. To me, this fight, before it happened, really would show, is Santos finally ready to make a legit run, or is Grant Dawson finally, or not finally ready, but ready at that level and to become a contender? Did you feel that way too? Like, was this kind of like a fight that would show yourself if you're ready to be a contender, or if you still need a bit more work?
I think that at 155, I think I need a little bit more work. I'm not going to turn down top 15 fights, and if they offer me a top 15 fight, I will absolutely take it. I think that I am skill wise ready for those fights. Proving myself wise, I think I need a little bit more of a name. I think I need, a Clay Guida or
Right.
whatever to really show the fans that I belong here. And like I said, I'm not going to turn down a top 15 fight. I hope I get a top 15 fight, but I know how the game works. I know how the sport works, and I know kind of in my heart what's going to happen next. And I'm ready for it. But whatever they decide to do, I'm going to be ready. I think that my skill set is there. I've been training to be a world champion in MMA since I was 15 years old. There's nothing in this sport, there's nothing that I am not prepared for and ready for mentally and physically. I'm one of the toughest dudes in the weight class. I'm one of the best dudes in the weight class, and I'm ready to prove that. Just because I haven't gotten the level of opponent to show that doesn't mean that I'm not ready. The butcher can only slaughter the lamb that's brought to him. I've slaughtered all my lambs. It's time to move up to goats.
What do you think that sort of shows or says about your mindset, that you're able to recognize that, hey, maybe I should get one more fight in before a top 15 opponent? Because a lot of people in your shoes, 5-0 in the UFC, young up-and-comer, really promising so far, would be all over a top 15 opponent. And of course, you said you would take it, you'd be all over that too, but you also recognize that, hey, one more wouldn't be a bad thing too. What does that say about sort of you as a person and how you're able to sort of see certain things, I guess?
So there's a couple of layers to your question here. And I think the first one is I will definitely take a top 15 opponent. I want a top 15 opponent. I'm not running from anybody. I'm not turning any fights down. There's only 2 guys in the top 15 that I don't want to fight, and that's Drew Dober and Paul Felder, and that's because those guys are my friends. So I'm ready skill-wise for that. However, I also understand the game. I'm not just a fighter. I'm a fan. Nobody watches as much film as I do. Nobody immerses themselves in the sport as much as I do. I know stats and records and the whole 9 yards, not just how to fight. And I understand how the game is played. And I know that, one, top 15 could be next, or we can get Clay Guida, who will bump my record up, who will get me more money, who will show the fans that I can beat legends and that I don't crack under pressure. So I just don't see why these guys are such in a hurry. I'm only 27 years old. The guy I just fought was 41 years old. So if I fight till I'm 41, I got so much more time. Why do I need to jump into that right now? I want to build myself up. I want to build my confidence up. I want to put the miles, on the experience meter. I don't see what the hurry is. Once again, I'm not turning no fights down. I will take top 15. I will take top 5. I'm here to be world champion. And the thing that I realized was I'm not here to be world champion at 28. I'm here to be world champion for one night, whether that's 28 or 48. I will be a world champion. It's not about doing it fast. It's about just doing it.
Yeah. Well, Grant, last thing for you. You called out Clay Guida, of course, after the fight. Do you have sort of something in mind in terms of when you want to get back in there?
I have some stitches in my head. And as soon as those are out, I'm going to start training again and bringing my weight down and asking for a turnaround. I think, Clay has been asking for a fight. And I think that it's about his turn to get turned around and them to start looking for an opponent for him. And I definitely want to make sure that my name is in the hat. I definitely want to make sure that, hey, I can make the weight. Hey, I can show up on time. I can show up on weight, and I can show up ready to fight. So as soon as I get these stitches out of my head, I'm gonna get back to training, start bringing my weight down. I'm gonna send Sean Shelby and my manager a picture of my weight every morning.
All right. Well, Grant, thank you again for the time. Really appreciate it, and congratulations on the big win over the weekend.
Thank you so much for having me, guy.